everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about some Cosmere controversies. So the subject of today's controversy will be Shallan. I've run into so many forums on Reddit and a bunch of groups on Facebook and stuff where people just do not like Shallan, and I personally don't understand it. So I want to kind of talk about some of the reasons that I found and kind of talk about my opinions on the character. And if you have negative opinions on Shallan or positive opinions, let me know about them in the comments down below. I kind of really want to get down to specific reasons why people don't like her, because I am having a hell of a time finding any. So yeah, with that being said, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and let's begin. This video will also have spoilers for pretty much all Stormlight Archive. It's going to go all the way up to Rhythm of War, because I will probably talk about random different things that happens with that character that goes throughout multiple books. So you've been warned. So, Shallan Devar. Shallan Devar is a really interesting character in my opinion. She is a young noblewoman from Yakaved on Roshar, the continent and the planet, and she is a victim of some severe childhood trauma. She has essentially been forced into a situation where she murdered her parents on two different situations and occasions. Well, not two different occasions, but in two different, not like she killed them at the same time, but two different instances. She killed one parent, then killed the other. And it's not out of evil or malicious intent or anything like that. She really kind of was basically backed into a wall, almost literally, in both situations. And it makes total sense that it happened. But of course, that kind of thing would traumatize a child. So she basically lives with that kind of trauma, and she has already had, since a child, she clearly has had dissociative personality disorder, where she can disassociate information and keep it out of the present forefront of her mind. So in, I think Rhythm of War, or, no, not, I really cannot remember any other book name except for Rhythm of War. So I think in Words of Radiance, she tells Kaladin she has this uncanny ability to just take anything she doesn't want to think about and just kind of make it go away. She has this ability to completely ignore it, which is essentially disassociation. So it kind of lays the groundwork for what later becomes her primary mental illness, essentially. So apart from her mental state, which is clearly a huge part of her character, which is almost one of the formation parts of her personality, essentially, the character herself, she is still very much her own person. She is an artistic scholar. She loves natural history and stuff. She's very witty. She's inquisitive. She very much loves knowledge and information that would apart from the cultural normality of women going into scholarship and stuff, she really does have a proclivity for scholarship. She really does like natural history and stuff. She's really good at art, and she's actually naturally witty, but she's also basically learned her wit as a coping mechanism to deal with her tumultuous family life. So her wit in other instances outside of dealing with trauma, it's kind of weird for some people. It comes across like she's trying to be smarter than she is, when in reality she's just trying to basically inject a type of levity to a situation when she's awkward. So given that I'm somebody who kind of does things similar to that, not exactly like that, I guess I relate to that very specifically. So it's very easy to see that if that is one of the things that annoys people, why it doesn't annoy me. So I wonder if there's many different things like that with the character that just I specifically, or multiple other people specifically, relate to, so we can kind of brush it aside and it doesn't affect us in a way that caused the character to become annoying. So I wonder if that's one of the things. And based on the lack of specific details I was able to find, or reasonings or explanations, I think that really is the majority of what it is. So apart from all the other stuff, she's also a fairly young character. She's one of the youngest characters that we meet initially in the Stormlight Archive. And as a result, she has this weird imbalance between being a typical teenager with all the arrogance and obnoxiousness and just kind of the, teenager stuff that most people don't tend to like after a while. But she also is bogged down by this level of trauma and stuff. But she also has a layer of major determination and recklessness and stuff all about her. It makes her a very complex and, in my opinion, incredibly interesting character. So it just baffles me when I see things on a Facebook group where people say, am I the only one severely irritated by Shallan? And then there will be 200 comments of people saying, no, I don't like her. I think she's obnoxious and she's terrible and blah, blah, blah. Her chapters are the hardest to read and stuff like that. And it's like my brain stops computing. It's like I feel like a robot with a bad logic circuit or something. Like it's like I started to glitch or something. It's like my mind just can't quite like make the connections in a great way or something. I don't know, and it just kind of blows my mind because I don't really get it. I don't understand like these instances people talk about because I can't ever get any specific scenarios. One of the only like I was looking for people to give me specific examples of her being obnoxious or mean or terrible and things like that, but I couldn't get any examples to the point where I was able to come up with more examples than any of them could give me specifically. So some of my issues, not even issues, but things that I found to be like typical teenager or a little petulant or just kind of annoying, was like the lesson with Yasna, the way she kind of imposed this like huge level of responsibility and just kind of she basically made Yasna out to be like a serial killer murderer instead of doing just something that was very utilitarian that she kind of did in order specifically to teach Shallan a type of lesson. So she was really killing multiple birds with a few stones. We'll probably talk about that more in another controversy episode. That's one of my favorite controversies that came out of the early books. But also another scenario, of course, the one that most people bring up is she stole Kaladin's boots. But that entire scenario makes sense to me. She was trying to project this level of confidence. She was basically learning, not even basically, she was learning from a con artist, someone who's not a good influence. And she basically was trying to learn to be more manipulative and to kind of just enforce this kind of power that she doesn't have. So the lesson that she was learning and the activity she was doing in that moment makes sense that it would result in something like that. So I understand though also having a clear relation to Kaladin and being more, connected with that character versus her. So when something like that happens to a character we follow from like page one, and then that happens, you're like, man, that chick, she super sucks and stuff like that, like, so I can kind of understand that. So, and because I was kind of on that bandwagon too. So, at least for like a few pages or so, but I kind of understand that. But again, that isn't a reason to say the entire character is a write-off. So some of the things that I also saw on the Facebook post that just kind of almost totally triggered me was people getting so harsh about her mental illness. It's like they were almost insulting Brandon for daring to write a character with this deep of a mental sickness that like it's destroying the story for them. They don't understand why Brandon would write a character like that when the basis of Stormlight is dealing with characters with mental conditions and mental illnesses and things. Like, so it just it's like, what are you reading? It's like, what are you getting out of the rest of this if you think that this mental illness is more dismissive than any of the others? And then like I saw people who just don't believe DID exists, like they haven't done any research on it or whatever. They think it's a mythical thing because they only have watched Split or something like that, and so they completely dismiss it entirely. Then I saw other people that had this weirdly misogynistic take on it. That's like Brandon basically was just trying to add more female POV just as a basis of adding more female POV or something like that. It was just, I mean, it's typical internet discourse where it mostly makes no sense at all. And like there's probably a couple grains of truth. But again, my goal was to try to find some very specific reasonings and I just can't find them. And it's like, weird because most of the discourse in the fandom is just like Brandon is God. So like he's nearly infallible in his writing. So I just couldn't find any of the things. So I've laid out a couple things here, the things that I didn't like about the character, like her taking the boots from Kaladin or what she did to Testament, or just kind of some of those things. Like to me, it's a part of the character. It's like even though Amaran was a terrible person, it's like I'm not going to crap on Brandon's way of writing the character because he's a bad person, bad person as a character or whatever. So if this person is a little obnoxious or a little arrogant or a little like cringy in their humor and stuff like that, that it's weird to me that with this character it translates to criticism of Brandon and just a complete dismissal of the entire character instead of understanding the character on their terms. So it's just one of the weirdest controversies that exist in the fandom, and I don't understand it and I don't like it because most of the reasons are just mean and I don't get it. So let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure some of you that watch my videos, especially Cosmere fans, some of you almost definitely don't like Shallan. So can you give me some specific examples, some like real reasons that like cause the entire work of the character to be just ruined for you, or that causes you to dismiss the character and whatever whatever way, if you do, or if you know anyone else that has those similar opinions, like what are their reasonings and stuff like that. I don't know. I just want to kind of get to some kind of basis and logic for it. I don't know. So yeah, if you can help me out with that, I'd really appreciate it. So yeah, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I will talk to you all next time. Peace.